Welcome everybody to KXUA Live. My name is Caleb Burkholder, your host. I'm here today with Sam King with his project Untight. Welcome, Sam.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So what, influenced you to start creating ambient works? Because I know you were in Groaners, which is heavier band-related stuff. So what kind of made you transition to that?
A couple things. I think one, there was always a kind of parallel interest in more experimental approaches to making music, stuff that's maybe more improvisation driven or is using instruments in atypical ways. So that had been an interest for probably a decade or more, and my job is that I teach art, and one of the things I teach pretty frequently is color theory. And so people, when they're trying to find good sort of vocabulary and metaphor for color, they'll reach for pitch and music. They're both waves. They're different kinds of waves, but they're both fundamentally wavelengths. And I ran across this quote. This experimental composer, Harry Partch, was talking about composing microtonally. He said that, imagine that you want scarlet, you get red. Imagine you want crimson, you get red. And if red's not good, we got orange, He said that's how he felt about pitch, that every little shade of pitch has a different kind of capacity to conjure emotion or to, express ideas. And he used to divide the octave by like 43 notes, which I couldn't do that myself, but it's interesting. And so I think that and encountering stuff like Lamont Young's well-tuned piano, which is at this point it's pretty old, decades old work, but it's a major work that involves a radically retuned piano. It seemed to open up a lot of doors, and it took me a while to figure out how that might work on a guitar. I had to have an instrument made to be able to do it this way. At first, I was just staggering the tuning of a regular guitar. I used to run a DIY venue or co-run a DIY venue called La La Land. And the first time I did a set as Untight was at one of the very last shows at La La Land. It was like they did 2 nights of closeout shows, and one of those nights I did a thing that was very similar to this. And so it's kind of, for me, at least in a metaphor way, it was a way to kind of pick up what had been going on there and take it with me.
Untight's, in a way, somehow a experiment with the color of sound and what you can do with sound.
You could say that. I think there's a pretty powerful meaning kind of bound up in structures. and pitch relationships were not always, especially on fixed pitch instruments like pianos and guitars, they were not always set up the way they are now. They used to be tuned so that certain keys were kind of sweeter and other keys were a little clangier, and then over time, music composition people started to value transposability over harmony, and so you'd have pieces that are very dynamic, but if you actually hang out on those intervals, those harmonies, they don't quite sit right with you. And so a lot of what you think of as like classical repertoire gets played faster, like just a little bit faster in contemporary performances, because it doesn't actually feel that good to hang out in those long pauses. And so with this, I'm interested in that and reclaiming some of that kind of like more mathematically elegant harmony, but I'm also interested in the dissonance that's available when you bring that back on the table. So it's not always about making things very elegant, very sweet, whatever. It's also about being able to conjure dissonances that are more reflective of experience too, you know.
It's really interesting for people to see an ambient artist in Northwest Arkansas. I don't think I've ever seen any ambient artists in this area at all. So I'm just really intrigued by you doing this kind of ambient art. And I don't really see it as like, it's music, sure, but it's more of like, I feel like I'm walking into an art gallery right now. And it's like the music is the art. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, I guess for me over time, those lines just they kind of lose their meaning. The vocabularies are kind of interchangeable in a lot of ways, or the ideas are kind of interchangeable. And for me, I'm also a painter, and ideas that I have in painting are pretty transferable to music and vice versa. And I think also, there are other people that are doing what I would say is more in the pocket ambient music in the region. They did, and we could talk and put them on your radar, but it is happening. It's just not everybody's out playing shows as much. And for me, being somebody that has been in bands, that's just a huge part of it. It's like you have to perform it, you have to bring it to people, and that, you know, it's hard. I mean, COVID definitely gave us a chance to see what it felt like not doing that too often. But even then, you know, I played a few shows like outside or like in very spaced out, you know, inside spaces. And I don't know, I have a hard time sitting in that genre completely because it doesn't, ambient seems to kind of imply a kind of stillness that I can never quite give myself over to. Like I'm very unstill while I'm doing this. It might not be, I don't move like if I were in a rock band, but like, but there's always this kind of incremental, like I'm always kind of shifting and moving and trying to move pieces around, and it's more arrested, but it doesn't feel inert, you know, or like that it's just going to be like lock in and be on a drone for a long time. I mean, it's a nice like feather in the cap to get some notice, you know, just to kind of feel like you're on the scoreboard somewhere. But you know, and popping onto a list is great. The reviews that I was able to get for Fair, those, even if they're not from as high profile reviewer like it's or a, you know, publication. Those mean a lot too, you know, for somebody to sit down and figure out how to transpose their reactions into text, like, so that stuff meant a lot too, you know. There were a few reviews came in that I felt like they got what it was I was trying to do, and they spoke about it in a way that I wouldn't have thought to, you know. So.
Awesome. Well, without further ado, this is Untight. Sam, take it away. That was Untight on KXUA Live. Thank you, Sam, for that. Tell me a little bit about your guitar. I noticed it's microtonal.
Yeah. Well, it's the easiest way to explain it is that it's a standard scale, but 29.5-inch scale instead of a 25.5. Yeah, so I mean, immediately, like today, the date of recording is August 1st. On Saturday, August 3rd, I'm going to be playing a show in Tulsa with Wetman Chalmets and Confined to a Singular Form and Pagination, which that's Tom Schmidlin I mentioned, who lives up in Bentonville. So that's coming. Go back to the Tank Center for Sonic Arts, which is a kind of unusual, special recording and performing space. It's a decommissioned water silo. I recorded there in summer of 2020, and I decided I'd kind of like to go back, and so I'm doing that this fall. And then I've got a couple of shows tacked on around that trip just to kind of make the trip a little more meaningful, you know. Bandcamp page. That's untight.bandcamp.com, and that is the place. That's the place where you could. Most of my merch is on cassettes, but it's also digital download, or it's streamable on platforms like Spotify. So all you have to do is just look up Untight. I'm the only Untight that I'm aware of, other than maybe a song or two. Let's see. I do, like on my artist page, which is just sam-king.com. There's a page that's kind of set up to talk about the project, and I'm on Instagram. If you put an underscore in front of every letter of Untight, then that's my name on Instagram. So there's a few different places.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming in and playing with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course.
Yeah.
That was Sam King's project Untight. Thank you guys for listening. This has been KXUA Live. You can reach us on KXUA.com and learn more about what we do at the radio station. Thanks.